Hi, how are you today?
Hi, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great, My name is Aaron, and I'm a therapist here at Good School Counseling Services, and I'm glad you made it today.
Thank you.
What brings you in today?
So I wasn't really referred, but I was offered some parenting classes by the Department of Family and Children's Services, and I've done some things that I'm not really proud about, and I kind of want to make it better. So I decided, when they said that parenting classes were available, or some therapy options to kind of discuss what's been going on, I wanted to jump right on that.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you're here today, and hopefully after you hear about what we do here, if you're comfortable, then we'll set some things up and we'll get started. But
absolutely.
before we get into all that, just want to let you know kind of what we do here. We work with individuals and families on mental health and emotional wellness, and we really want to value your time, so we appreciate that you're here. We'll probably go over a little bit of information regarding just like things like confidentiality, and basically that is your right to have things remain in this context when we talk. I do want to let you know that there are some things that I might have to report outside of our connection if I was made aware of, and those are things like if there was any abuse to an elder or a child. I would have you sign a release of information, and that release of information would basically indicate that I can communicate with someone of your choosing, if you choose, obviously, about what we're talking about. And if you don't want to put anybody on that release of information, then pretty much everything would stay here. If there were ever any type of legal subpoena, then I might have to turn over records. But outside of that, everything will stay confidential between you and I.
Okay.
And we'll get started from there. So I know you said that you're coming in. You have some concerns. Just tell me a little bit about yourself and your background.
Yeah. So I have a 16-year-old. His name is Brett.
Okay.
Crazy about him. But recently things have been getting a little rough. He started smoking weed and drinking.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and he's 16, so it's not even legal.
Trouble.
And I'm worried that it's going to stunt his development, or kind of be that gateway into worse behaviors.
Absolutely.
Especially because my ex-husband actually ended up dying of a heroin overdose.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah,
That's horrific.
Yeah, so, he knows, he's 16. He had a lot of time with his dad. It was only, I think, about 5 years ago that his dad passed away, so, I mean, he was very present.
Absolutely.
In Brett's life, and so he knows the impact that drugs have on people. And yes, it's only weed, but at the same time, like, I just don't understand how he could think that drinking and doing drugs is okay when he knows that his dad died that way. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, and that's got to be frustrating for
Yeah.
you to have seen what's happened to his dad, and now that he's using drugs.
Yeah.
That's got to be really scary. So this is just like a one-time experience that
No, unfortunately, it's happening a lot. Like, he's doing it, from what I know, it's at least a couple times a week. So who even knows what's going on when I'm not home or when I don't catch him. And I'm kind of, like, ashamed to say it. And you said about confidentiality and, child abuse, but we got into an argument the other day about his drinking and drug use, and I ended up slapping him.
Yeah, well, you got really frustrated, it sounds like, you know, and I don't want you to feel embarrassed by that, because it sounds like you just got so upset and so frustrated you didn't know what else to do.
Yeah, and I know it's not okay to hit kids. Like, I know that, and I never would have. It's just like I totally lost control, and the second I did it, you know,
Absolutely.
you just want to take it back in that instant, but it's already happened. And
How did he respond after he had got hit?
he pretty much said "fuck you," and
Oh, wow.
yeah, so it didn't. I mean, things have. He since then. I mean, he's just been kind of like passive, I guess. Like he'll say, "Hey,
Okay.
mom," but
Yes.
you know, and I've tried to apologize to him a couple times, but
It sounds like a really intense experience where
Yeah.
you're trying to get through to your son about the dangers of the drug usage. You blow up, you end up smacking him, and he curses you out.
yeah.
And wow, how long ago was this?
It was like 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
So yeah, it's still fairly recent, and I mean, I feel like it's a long ways away.
Yes.
And again, I don't hit Brett. This isn't like a common occurrence, but I just don't want child services to have to step in, or for, you know, him to go to school and tell people that, you know, I hit him and stuff. And, you know, I want to work on me, but I just want to try to identify things that I can do that will help Brett.
Right.
Because, yeah.
Well, I think it's great that you want to identify some things that will both help you as an individual, but also Brett, your son. And I think that Brett is lucky to have a parent that has at least the concern to say, hey, what can I do to make things better?
Well, thank you.
I see you working really hard already to try to help your son have a better outcome.
Yeah.
And I think that that's hopefully something that we can explore as we go forward. Now, you mentioned that Brett is in high school.
He is, yeah. He's
Okay.
16, so he's a sophomore.
Well, tell me about his friends or who you think he might be using drugs with.
Well, I think he is kind of trying to fit in, so I'm not even sure that he's friends with these people.
I
You know,
gotcha.
like I think that they're like the cool kids at school or whatever.
Okay.
And I think he's just using it to cope with his feelings, and he's trying to. I think he's just lost, and everyone else is smoking weed and drinking. So, you know,
A lot of peer
he
pressure.
thinks, yeah, I think so. So, and the friends that he used to have, I don't even know if he still hangs out with them because they don't do those activities.
Wow.
Yeah.
So are you saying that like a lot of his friends do use marijuana, or does he have friends that don't smoke marijuana as
The
well?
ones that don't, I don't even think he hangs out with anymore. And the people that he does use with, I'm not even sure that they're friends. I think they're just acquaintances, or they're like user buddies, if that, yeah.
Yeah. Does he see anybody else use drugs around? Like, is there anybody else like in the community or maybe even in the family that uses drugs? Or?
Definitely not in the family. I mean, after my ex passed away, my family is very sensitive to the fact that, you know, drugs can kill, and they've seen it happen firsthand. So, I mean, potentially in the community. I mean, people use drugs all the time now, right? Like, it's become
There is a lot of
the
usage out
norm.
there.
So, but in terms of the family, I mean, I don't, like, I'll drink every once in a while, but it is in no way, you know, it's more of like a recreational thing. And, you know, I'm obviously past that phase of where I have to do it to fit in, but I worry that he's doing these activities more to fit in and stuff.
Does he ever talk about his dad and any memories?
He pretty much avoids the subject, and I think that might be because he just can't handle it.
That's understandable. That's
Yeah.
a really painful memory,
Yeah.
and such a tragic way in which his dad died. So. And wow, okay. So, do you think that's something that he kind of wants to talk about at some point, or is he just kind of not even interested in talking about dad and kind of what happened?
So it's actually I don't think he wants to talk about it because so his dad and I were divorced, and he was actually over at his house when it happened.
Oh, wow.
So he overdosed, and my son was there. So
Oh my goodness, I can't even imagine.
yeah. So it's like, on one hand, I kind of want to push it under the rug, but at the other hand, I can't do that. Like, that's not fair to Brett, but at the same time, I don't know how to bring up the conversation. I think talking about it would be really beneficial to him,
Right.
but I think he's so traumatized by it that I don't even know
Right.
where
So
to start.
has he ever had any type of counseling or therapy or anything like that?
No, he's just at this point an angry 16-year-old. So,
Gotcha.
you
Gotcha.
know, I think it would be good, but at the same time, I'm trying to see if focusing on me may be able to help his change in behavior, but I don't know.
So what do you do to cope? Or obviously you're here, obviously, so you have some resiliency. You came in today,
Yeah.
so you've obviously got some strength and resiliency. So what do you do to, I guess, keep yourself motivated?
I mean, I work at a grocery store.
Okay.
So I mean, I
Okay.
have to go there every day, so it's not really like a choice to get up, I suppose.
Okay.
Because that's, our only source of income is mine.
Okay.
And I mean, I like to knit.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
So do you like knit like big quilts, or do you
Yeah.
clothes, or kind of what do you knit?
Yeah, I knit blankets and hats, and
Okay.
sometimes, there's only so many blankets and hats that you need. So
Well,
when
yeah.
I make more, I give them to like our local homeless shelter
Oh,
or
that's
donate
awesome.
them. So
Wow.
yeah, and Brett has this baby blanket that I made him, and so
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I think the folks that receive the blankets that you are knitting are very, very fortunate.
thank you.
And I'm sure your son probably appreciates it too.
I would like to think so, but
Yeah. Well, hey, I think that's a pretty cool hobby. So you said you also like to give them away to, you said the shelters? Okay.
Yeah, I
Well,
do.
that's pretty cool. So do you volunteer there on a regular basis, or do you just go to the shelters just for the blankets and giving away your blankets?
So far, I just give away the blankets and hats. I think I would like to get more involved in volunteering. But again, at this point, I'm just feeling kind of like a failure mom. So it's like I should focus on my kid first before I focus on myself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense, and I heard you say you feel like a failure mom, and at the same time I hear you doing some really spectacular things with kind of going into the shelters and giving them the blankets, and I think that's pretty awesome. And you have a job, and
It's true.
you're holding down a
Grocery
job
store,
with
yeah.
all this stuff, and it might be just a grocery store, but I mean that's not a bad job. I mean you're setting a great example for your son in terms of getting up every day even when it's difficult, going and making money. So I think those things are great. I think that you definitely have some strengths. In terms of volunteering, how does that make you feel? Do you feel good when you do that, or?
Yeah, it kind of makes everything vanish for a little bit, and it's bad, but it's kind of like, seeing people who are homeless, it's like, well, at least I have a home, or, it puts things into perspective, but then at the same time, I'm like, yeah, but my ex died of a heroin overdose, so it's kind of, it's like you're in this moment and feeling grateful, and then you kind of snap back to reality, and it's difficult.
Well, I think it's awesome that you can take perspectives and look at folks that maybe have less than you or less fortunate, and really say, hey, listen, this is some way that I can help you, knowing that you may not have everything you want, but you're still going and giving back. So I think that's something that really is honorable. So
Thank you.
I really respect the fact that you do that. So you said you do work at the grocery store, and then you volunteer. So how often do you volunteer?
So I only do it maybe like once a month. It all depends on how much time I have to like knit the things in order to give them away. So
Okay. And then are you working like full time, like
Yeah.
Monday through Friday, or do you work weekends? Or
it all depends on the shift
Okay.
or the week really. It kind of I can like flex my time a little bit. So they'll tell me some weeks I work on the weekends and then have a week 2 weekdays off, and then some days it's normal 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. Yeah.
So it sounds like you're really busy with work. Do you ever have time to like just you and your son to do some things together for fun, or?
No, he doesn't even want to. I mean, and now I've probably completely ruined that relationship. But he doesn't even want to spend time with me anymore.
Oh, wow. Well, you know what? I wonder if there's going to be some opportunities to repair that. I think that you coming here is a step in the right direction, you know. So, yeah, I think that your son, you know, has the opportunity to perhaps, you know, have a better relationship with you, but we're just going to have to keep plugging away at it. And I see that you're a persistent person, and I think that we could definitely make some progress. In terms of your son, I know that you want him to be able to communicate with you better, not stop using drugs. What else do you want from your son? What would you like to see in your son?
I think I want him to be able to feel like he can fit in without having to do these things. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, he should be able.
Drugs? Are you
Yeah,
talking about?
yeah.
Okay.
Without having to drink or do drugs, and that it's okay to not be in like that crowd. You know what I'm saying? So
what types of things did he enjoy doing before he was using drugs?
He was really into trains.
Okay. That's
So
cool. Like,
yeah.
like locomotives,
Yeah,
like actual
yeah.
trains, or like model trains, or
No, like actual trains. He's
Wow.
really into the like the engineering aspect of them.
Wow.
So
okay. Well, that's pretty
Yeah.
cool. So that means he's a smart kid and
He
an
is.
inquisitive kid too.
yeah, he is.
Okay. So would have you guys ever taken like a train ride or?
We did when he was little. Haven't done it in a long time. So
Okay.
yeah.
So is this something like he does through the school? Is there like some type of program, or is he just pursuing this on his own?
It's just really, it's on his own. I think he may want to get involved with things, but kids his age, I guess he says kids his age don't really like play with trains, or they're not interested in stuff like that. So I
Yeah.
think he's also embarrassed about his interest. Also, we're out of time.
Okay.
Good job.
All right. Thank you. I was struggling.
Were you?